Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
It's all about mourners, and my mourners crew is back here, and still Sabastian Sid joining us from Nobelia.org, really taking off and helping inspire individuals, groups, and you listening today, being here with us today, joining us. That's one step closer to, becoming more and gaining more and living the mourners life. How are you today, ladies and gentlemen?
Perfect.
Good.
Yes.
Great to see you.
Yes. We're happy. We're excited. I'm going to be going to Vegas, on Sunday for a whole week for that huge, big author conference, the biggest author conference that they have. And it's a really big deal. So it's a whole week in Vegas. So that's fun. That's something to look forward to.
Exciting.
Yes, very exciting. And also, it ties into moreness because, yes, people associate Vegas with gambling. But, if you take the gambling out and if you go to Vegas and you don't gamble, there's still a ton of stuff going on, like this conference, right? There's all sorts of conferences going on in Vegas. And in other words, there's a mourners going on. Just the shows. I mean, there are dozens and dozens of really high class, top of the world shows. So there's a lot of things that happen in Vegas. Formula One is happening. So when we look a little bit past the obvious, then you see there's more, right? And that's part of mourners culture. Now, of course, with mourners, we aren't looking at it in a more material way. We're looking at it in a more spiritual way, in a more emotional way, psychological way, and anything that gives you more that you don't expect, that you don't assume, right? That's where mourners is, that extra. I mean, for instance, like we could have, say, like, let's say being a billionaire. Well, that's not an expectation that we have, but also it's still a possibility. It's within the realm of our imagination that, well, I could be, I mean, there's been lotteries that had winnings of over 1 billion, not many, but there've been a couple. So, all right, it's unlikely, but it's still possible.
Yeah.
Moreness is when you start to connect with that which you never thought was either likely or possible, but you get that depth and that extra. And that, the superlatives in life, this is what moreness is about, right? And just, for instance, how you feel. We typically feel relative to what's going on around us. Our feelings are responsive. Yeah. But with moreness culture, you learn to choose your own feelings. Well, now you're living in an entirely different reality, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Entirely, and that's a moreness. It's a massive moreness. All right, but now I want to get to what I really want to talk to you about today. With moreness culture, you say, yeah, well, I don't really know where to start. What's it about? Well, let's get to the core, which is way of impeccability. And way of impeccability is exactly what the name implies. It's a way of being, a way of living, right? That's way of round about impeccability, right? And how important is impeccability, Bina?
Oh, she's muted. Hold on.
Sorry. Yes, because I don't want to disturb you, but this is something very interesting because what he was saying about the mourners and coming back to the way of impeccability as a base, as a root of mourners. I always wonder that, okay, how can we, because now I kind of like a bit of aware of mourners and like familiar with. I cannot say that, okay, I'm aware of mourners, I'm familiar with.
Yeah.
And this being familiar with mourners, I cannot imagine myself without this. And when he asked me, and I was like, oh, yes, because now it is the whole mindset, the whole psychology of me has changed. It has shifted. So I cannot imagine even things when there is no moreness concept or understanding there. And
Wow.
this is like really, oh, okay, now another shock for me that now I cannot imagine myself. I cannot even think of things
Wonderful.
without having the moreness concept here. So that is so brilliant, of course, way of impeccability. Way of impeccability is a way of being. We assume that okay, oh, impeccability is something is a superlative. Actually, not. Impeccability
Right.
is the basic core character need. It is
Exactly.
not something like extra you are going to bring into your life. It's a core
Exactly.
character need. And it is not something like, okay, you have to do something extra. Just be
Exactly.
mindful. Being
Exactly.
mindful is actually being impeccable.
And now let's get to that. Let's get to that. because I want to specifically say, okay, now you say, well, what exactly is impeccability, right?
Mm-hmm.
And somebody asked me this question: is there such a way to give a mini explanation of the word impeccable, impeccableness?
Yeah.
Yes. Impeccability is best use of
Use
energy.
of energy.
That is the most core, most key, most fundamental definition of impeccability.
Okay.
Best use of energy. Now, when we say best, best is an expansive. It's a huge term. It's inclusive. Yeah, you can't just say, well, it's the best for me today. The best thing to do for me today is not necessarily best in my life overall, right? It may be the
Hmm.
best thing for me today to binge on sweets all day or whatever, but that doesn't help me longer term, right?
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
best we have to take in the short term, the intermediate, the longer term, and the overall, in terms of your spirit, you have to think
Mm-hmm.
of that too, right? So best use of energy. And you think of, for instance, lying. Lying has sometimes great short-term benefits, but longer term, not so good, right? They're terrible. And you watch people who deal in lies, they have to keep on lying and more lies, and their lives become exceedingly stressful. And, sometimes those things implode, and it's a cascading. It's just miserable. When you live in always looking to maintain your lives, it's very miserable, right? So, longer term, not good. And this is absolutely key. And mourners culture, way of impeccability, all of it is looking at the entirety of your life, not just your life here in this reality, but your life in potentially other realities, right?
Yeah.
So your best use of energy involves preparing yourself for whatever may be. You don't know. It may be nothing, but it
Yeah.
may also be something. Let's say that for me personally, right, as I've spent my life paying attention to this, if it turns out that there's nothing after death, so what? I've still had the maximum out of this life. But I've hedged my bets. If there is something, I'm prepared for it as well.
Got
Either
it.
way, best use of energy, right? Either way, cover your bets either way. If there's nothing, so what? I'm living this life to the maximum, but I'm living to the maximum in such a way that my maximum is also including being prepared for what comes. For instance,
Awesome.
just understanding impeccability, right? Which
Yeah.
best use of energy, being patient. Just let's use patience as just one example, right? Being patient and having patience, that's a very good use of your energy, is it not? Because if you're impatient, it causes all sorts of stress and hassle and bother. And you never get to have things that you would otherwise get because you just don't have the patience to wait for it, right?
Yeah.
So patience is an excellent quality to have. So spending the time and energy to acquire patience gives me benefits in this life. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Massive benefits. But now, can you imagine any reality where patience would not be a positive quality to have?
I
Patience?
had the wrong
I
idea
would
of
say go ahead.
patience.
Okay,
Right.
yeah.
I'm just saying, any reality, any spiritual reality, any world, any alternative, science fiction world, who knows what we end up with, right? When is an alternate reality after death, where we go to. Any place that you're in, patience is going to be a good quality, yeah?
Okay, if you have a precise idea of patience is, then yes. Because
Okay.
as a young person, when I was coming and I was like, no, patience is just
No.
going to make you a loser because you are just going to be like, okay, as a slow person, letting everyone do whatever they want to do. And that was the idea of patience I had in the beginning. And that was making me a kind of irritated with the patience. Like, okay, no, it is making
Yeah.
you less ambitious. It is going to make you less progressive. It's going to make
Right,
you
right, right.
competitive, which
Well,
was a
true
very good thing
patience.
in my mind.
Right,
Yes. So that
right.
was the
So
idea. So you have to have a
right.
very precise idea of
Yeah,
patience.
right, right. Well,
Yeah.
my point is positive qualities like patience, integrity, and of
Yeah.
course impeccability, skills of awareness, discernment, understanding. Those are going to benefit you no matter where you are. But they
Yes.
benefit us now also. So if you pursue things that benefit you now, but
Mm-hmm.
abstract qualities, qualities of your character, qualities of
Exactly.
awareness, qualities of understanding, right?
Yeah.
These will help you anyway. So we get the best of everything, and that's best use of energy. We're covering and hedging all of our bets. right? So when we look
Yeah.
at this best use of energy and we think of it in the overall context, not only of this life, but any other potential lives, any other realities, now we're set. And that covering of all of our options, this is best use of energy. This is the most incredible thing to do, right? Because we benefit now and we're going to benefit in any other potential reality. This is fantastic, right?
This
This
is
is
amazing.
really, really, really potent. And the more you do this, the more you are working on your awareness, your discernment, your understanding, and your ability to apply, right? It's no good just understanding things without the ability to apply. So this is absolutely key to impeccability, is to apply things as well, right? Because that's the same thing. If you just learn things theoretically and you aren't able to apply it, then you've wasted all that energy in the theoretical study. It means nothing. It's all useless, right? Because you
Yes.
can't apply it.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Psychology, students of psychology, they study it intellectually, they never apply it, and they think it's going to change their lives. Psychology professors, it's almost a cliche. It's a bit of a meme, right? Psychology professors are messed up. Well, that's why they study psychology, because but they understand it in their brains, and they really can tell you all about psychology, but they don't apply it, so it doesn't mean anything, right? Got to apply it, and that's best use of energy application, right?
Yeah.
So let's
Yes.
go into a few
Just want to
more.
ask you something, sir.
Please, please,
Yeah, I
please,
just want to
please.
ask you something because you mentioned about lying, that okay, lying is stressful, it takes a lot of energy, and of course it is, because I have deliberately tried this. Really, it takes a lot of energy to remember
Oh
all those
yeah,
details, and
oh,
it
it's
says that
horrible,
because when
horrible,
I was
horrible.
saying out of flow, then of course I don't remember all those things,
Yeah,
and then of course it's
yeah.
so embarrassing. But anyway, what I have experienced that people lie, of course, with all other reasons, so many reasons for that, sometimes out of need, sometimes out of desperation and other. But mostly it is like, okay, sometimes that they are not able to express it precisely
Correct,
and
correct,
appropriately.
correct,
They
correct.
cannot express themselves precisely, so they just lie about that because
Wow.
this might hurt other people. That was my
Yep,
case also.
yep, yep, yep.
I
And I'll
was
come to
doing
that.
that because yes, that's why I'm mentioning this, all these
Yeah,
things,
yeah,
because I used to think that okay, if I will say it outright, it is going to hurt other people,
yeah, yeah,
and I
yeah.
was not able to say it, communicate it precisely,
Right,
appropriately. That
right,
was the
right.
first reason, and the second reason was that I was feeling scared of not only
Exactly,
hurting people, but also scared of
exactly.
people getting like okay, really against me.
Right,
After
right.
way of impeccability, what happened that my communication skills gets at least much better than what it was before, that I
Yes,
can communicate my point of view, my perspective appropriately, so it is not going to hurt others.
yes,
That was the
yes.
first thing. So it is going to eliminate the need of lying in my life. And the second thing, I don't feel scared of, because even when the situation will come and people are going to against me, I know that I
You
can
have self
understand
trust
what
now.
is coming,
Yeah,
exactly what is coming,
yeah, yeah,
what will
yeah,
be the implications of
yeah,
that. So i
yeah.
will i will design, I will construct my sentences, my perspective in a way that it is going to prevent all these things.
Right.
So way of
You have the
impeccability
awareness
helps
to
me in
deal
all
with
these
it.
things.
Yeah,
Exactly, that's why I'm mentioning that, because lying is a
right.
big okay, we don't want to
Yeah,
admit that, which is another
yeah,
lie, that
yeah,
okay, we
yeah,
have to
yeah,
sometimes, yes, with children, with of course with our colleagues, with our family, that okay, they might hurt. Mostly it is out of goodness.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It is
yeah,
out of
yeah.
goodness, like I don't want to hurt
Exactly,
others.
exactly, exactly. I want to get back to the way of impeccability here, right? Because we're running out of
Yes.
time a bit, yeah. So, I mean, this is something we'll go into more in Bina, but I want to focus on impeccability
Okay.
specifically, right? So we say best
Mm-hmm.
use of energy. That's our most core point. But let's look at other ways that this application of best use of energy is giving due respect. Right? Bina
Exactly.
brought this point up, this due respect. Because if you just give respect because, well, people demand it, well, gangsters, for instance, criminals, they all want to be respected. But do they deserve respect? No, it's not due respect, it's artificial respect. So we have to give due respect. And when we do, we treat things appropriately, right? Very simple. And when you treat things appropriately, you're using your energy to best effect. Very simple, right? Uncompromising self-honesty. If you lie to yourself, you're a goner. You're lost. Right? And this is something you can just look at people around you and see, oh, well, they're lying to themselves. And you see how much trouble it causes them. Is that a good use of the energy? Absolutely not. Right? It causes
No.
trouble. Like, Jill,
Mm-hmm.
you've seen this. You know what we're talking about.
Yep.
Right? Impeccability is living with true integrity. True integrity, not just a surface, not just apparent, no, true integrity, which means that you know where you're at and you don't compromise on your goodness, for instance, on your sensibility, on your sobriety, because you have tools with which to figure things out, right? And I'll get to
Yeah.
the tools in a moment. I'm just talking about impeccability itself now, right? We'll get to a way of impeccability which gives you the tools. No? Impeccability is making sure non-use of energy is not going to be a problem, non-action. Yeah? We
Yeah.
think, well, I'm doing the right things, but, well, I'm also not doing certain things.
Huh.
You know that this putting off, and, a lot of people, yeah, I'm not doing it. I kind of know I should. And
Shouldn't, shouldn't.
they
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah, but that's it. We have to be very careful of should also, right? It should according to
Mm-hmm.
you, your own conscience, not should according to society, because that will
True.
get you into a mess in a hurry, right?
Trouble.
But
Yeah.
again, we have to be sure that we are taking appropriate action. And mostly this comes from when people are dealing with, yeah, I know I should be taking care of my spiritual stuff. I should be looking at those deep questions. And later, yeah, well, later never comes, right?
Nope.
So, yeah, do it now. Do it now. Impeccability is doing more than enough to be sure we're covered.
Oh, my goodness, that's right. Well, we need to remind everyone, hold on, Nobelia.org. Our friend Sil, our friend Sabina here
Yes.
joining us. Go to Nobelia.org for more. Continue.
Yes, yes, right. So impeccability is doing more than
Yeah,
enough to be sure we're covered, right? And what do I mean by
always.
covered? Which means covered in the sense that when I make a decision, right, I've
Uh-huh.
done everything I can to make that decision, and therefore I can have no regrets because I knew I did everything I possibly could to make that decision, right? Which is coming to the next point, which is impeccability is being thorough, diligent, scrupulous, conscientious, etc. Right? Doing all your due diligence, doing all your research. So when you make your decision, you say, I've done everything that I can, there's no more I can do.
Yeah.
And I make my decision. And then how can you regret that?
Oh,
You
that's
can't.
hard.
Now, if you've made a decision under those conditions, there's no possible way to regret it, no matter how it turns out, right? No way. No way. Making sure one is unblameable, unfaultable by one's own conscience.
Hmm.
This is crucial. This is where the previous two come into it. When you've done everything you possibly can do, right, and then you do it, then you have to just trust. And the way it works out is the way it works out. There's nothing more you could have done. So you can't. It may not go the way you want to, but that doesn't mean you to blame. No, well, it didn't work out. Circumstances, life, whatever. The universe, okay, so be it. But you see what I mean? And you don't feel bad about it. You have no regrets. Right? It didn't work out, okay. But you know what I've
Hmm.
discovered? That when you're impeccable and you make decisions and things go the way you don't expect them to go, and sometimes it's a great big mess, pay attention,
Yeah.
pay attention, pay attention. Because almost always, if you've been impeccable, those turn out to be fortuitous mistakes. And you say, oh my goodness, well, the world has ended. I was impeccable in my job and I got fired anyway. What the hell? And you're all mad. And you say, but wait, wait, wait. And then you suddenly realize what a gift
Wait a
this was.
sec.
What a
Uh-huh.
gift this was, right? And you learn to see the moreness in the unforeseen. And when you pay attention in that way, oh, your world explodes and you live in an entirely different universe, right? So impeccability, always you're okay. Yeah. Impeccability is acting so we cannot have any regrets. This is a big deal, regrets, right? It really is. It's a horrible thing when they come to the end of their lives and they have regrets. It's horrible, right? Impeccability is doing what's right according to our own conscience, acting in accordance with our conscience, not anybody else's, but our own. Right? That's very, very key, and very, very key. Yeah? Acting in accordance with our own conscience. Now, your conscience can evolve and can develop, and that's part of wave impeccability is learning and being more, because that's the best use of your energy. Look at all the nonsense in the world. You can take every bad action, every evil action, and you trace it back to the root of it. Where does it start? It starts in unawareness.
Mm-hmm.
Every single time starts in unawareness. If they knew better, they wouldn't do it, right? So, best use of energy says, if I don't want to do things okay, inadvertently be stupid and foolish and bad and evil, well, then, I need to raise my awareness. At this point, not necessarily evil, but people causing harm through good actions. Look up the history, go and research large charity organizations that have caused great big messes,
Mm-hmm.
but the intent was to do good, right? They tried to do good, and they created chaos and havoc. And sadly, many of those people that were involved in those big charity
Yeah.
organizations ended up committing suicide. Their lives were completely devastated. I mean, depression, etc. It caused a massive problem, but it made people realize that what you think is good and what actually is good, two different things. So we need to have not just awareness, but discernment as well. We need to understand. So ADU, right? So this is a very powerful usage of your energy, is to learn to be more aware, more discerning, more understanding, and to be able to apply. Right? Impeccability is applying all necessary effort required. This is where the application comes in. You must be able to do the necessary effort that's required. Right? And this doesn't necessarily mean the necessary effort in a physical sense. Sometimes yes, but psychologically, emotionally, the necessary effort. Well, if you have to, do something that's maybe not pleasant, but it's necessary, you got to do it. That's it, right? I mean, necessary effort. Mothers all are familiar with necessary effort. What is the necessary
Mm-hmm.
effort when your kids come in and they've fallen down and they've skinned their knees and they got gravel in the knees? What's the necessary effort?
Gotta
Stand
go
still, you clean
help.
it out. Ow, 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 shut up. I got to clean
And
it. And
scream.
you clean
Yep.
it, right? That's it. You just got to suck it up and you got to clean it. Now, is it pleasant for the mother to do that? No, but it's necessary effort because the mother
Mm-hmm.
knows if they don't clean that wound, then you're going to have a bigger problem, right? So they
Yeah.
all do it, and this is positive ruthlessness, right? This is a great quality mothers and nurses possess. Right? We only see the negative side of ruthlessness, but there's positive ruthlessness as well, which is doing the necessary effort required without being put out by pettiness and triviality and oversensitivity and stuff like that, right? So necessary effort, very important. And we get to capital T trusting, Nobelia trusting impeccably. When we've done all this, that things
Mm-hmm.
will turn out good. So when you've done all this, when you've been thorough, you've been diligent, you've been scrupulous, you've been conscientious, you paid attention to your integrity, you've made all the necessary effort, etc., you're going to trust. Part of impeccability is trusting that things will turn out good. That's what I was saying. When you absolutely have been impeccable and you trust that things will turn out good, you start to look at the world differently, and then you see how they do turn out good, right? Thus, acting and behaving and doing all we can, so doubt will never be an issue.
Got it.
So when you start living impeccably, doubt is not an issue, right? Yes, you may still be in a bubble and you still are limited in your awareness, but you always see how your mistakes lead you to more. Your mistakes lead you to more, and you keep on that path. It's the most incredible thing. So the original questioner responded after I said this to them. They said, sort of unimpeachable. And the reply was, in a way, yes, exactly. Unimpeachable by our own conscience, yes.
Got it.
So impeccability is to be unimpeachable by your own conscience. And conscience demands impeccability. Right? Little quote there. Conscience demands. The enemies of awareness: fear, sadness, anger, self-importance, clarity, power, and assumption. Oh, these were quotes that I put in the wrong place. But okay. I want to just really quickly jump in the screen share. I want to just share.
Sure.
We'll talk about this next week, right, Bina? The connection between impeccability and way of impeccability, right?
Yes.
And we'll see. I'm just going to touch on it very briefly. So Bina talked about expressing herself. So these are all the modules for way of impeccability.
Yep.
This is module 1 right here.
We talked about
Clarity
this.
of
Yep.
intent and
Mm-hmm.
focus of purpose. Now, we've spoken about clarity of intent before, right? It's very important to know what you're doing. And then the specific practices, this just goes over what we're going to do. But let's get to Bina's point. In this module, the philosophy of takeaway. And this leads to expression, because in way of impeccability you are going to provide takeaways on the modules, which
Mm-hmm.
is you now expressing. Well, there's two things that you're going to do. You're going to repeat back, which is part of this, and a takeaway, which is you expressing how you understood it, how you comprehended it. The takeaway is you saying what was valuable to me. What am I going to take away and put inside me and carry with me that I'm going to use and apply? Like my phone, right? You take away your phone with you every day when you go out, right? Your phone you can't leave
Forget
behind.
it. It's like,
It's very valuable to
panic
you.
attack. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Right. But we psychologically and emotionally, there are many things, spiritually, same thing. So in the philosophy of takeaway, in expressing those takeaways, you learn to express yourself. And you learn discernment, you learn this vocabulary, which is the language of conceptuality. And this is massively changing, right? And then we get to the very next one here, redefining self-conception, which we spoke about last week. Yeah, how important self-conception is. And when you tie self-conception to takeaway, you get language, how you use your language, the finer points, right? And then we get I'm just going to do these first few here, insisting on extracting the more. Right, which we get to moreness. Now there's more. I'm going to do this. We will go over all of this next week. Yeah,
perfect. Thank you.
We'll go over all of this. Way of impeccable next week. Bina, closing words.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing all these things. And yes, expression is something. An ability to express yourself appropriately cause a lot of things, and we get into the should mindset. Oh, I must do this, and also that it's a superiority thing that I need to take care of other people's feeling. I'm not responsible for that. It is a positive ruthlessness. Again, coming back to the same point, I'm not only responsible that, okay, I'm not responsible, but also that I'm not able to, I cannot take care of everything. So this is the idea that I'm going to just take care of the whole world around me. It is impossible. We cannot do this. And also that it is coming back to the bigger good, which is Sil was mentioning, that the way universe works. Sometimes we assume that, oh, it's so horrible what happened. But universe has a bigger scheme, and it always turned out in a positive, good way for the larger people, of course, in a larger good. And this is how the way of impeccability also completely aligned with the universe's law.
Yeah.
So yes, thank you so much, Sil, for sharing. Yes.
Nobelia.org. Check them out.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.